Oh boy, this Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, it seems like 100 years since we've done the draft pod, is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download their top-rated sportsbook app. Sign up for DraftKings using the promo code RTRS. Brought to you by Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. And Stateside Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter, which will be huge on Thursday. Get yours at statesidevodka.com. On the show today, I think it's fair to say we're back. Boy, there hasn't been a night like this in a long time here in Sixers land. The Al Horford era is over. We were always right about him. Knew he wouldn't fit. Knew Celtics fans always overrated him. Josh Richardson era is over. Danny Green is here. Seth Curry is here. The Tyrese Maxey era has begun. Isaiah Joe is here. And Paul Reed, Mike's going to tell me whoever the fuck that is. Before we get going, as I mentioned, Stateside Vodka, which I've been enjoying this evening. This week is the last chance for you to get this bottle, the co-branded Ricky and Stateside bottle with "We Were Right" on it, as has been proven tonight. It looks really cool. Stateside's logo looks really cool with our logo. Thank you, Stateside. You can get it at statesidevodka.com. Certified gluten-free, certified kosher, zero sugar, zero carbs. Cold filtered, distilled 7 times, and from Philly. Get it with the special limited edition Ricky label at statesidevodka.com. And another thing, you could get your own commercial on the Ricky, or if you don't have a business, if you just want us to talk shit on your friends, we're auctioning off a commercial for the Brandywine Valley SPCA. If you would like to bid, just go to the link in this post at rightstoRickySanchez.com. I'll also put the link there in Apple Podcast. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin with a guy who I know is energized right now. That is our very own Mike Levin.
I'm fired up.
There it is. Come on.
This is the opposite of the Muscle Relaxer podcast. Mm-hmm. Although that was, I think, I remember feeling vaguely joyful in that one also.
So are you on
different reasons?
Coke?
But man,
Ritalin?
what a ride! What a day!
Boy.
lot of action. We had nothing happen for so long, mm-hmm. And then with one day, mm-hmm. Daryl basically undoes. I'm not going to say all, but many mistakes from
pays for it. Certainly pays for it.
For sure. Yeah. Not doesn't just make him disappear, but nothing, for the most part, nothing painful at all. And a lot of stuff to be really, really, really very excited about. I am, draft-wise feeling excellent about how things shook out. Mm-hmm. Although I did hate to trade both 34 and 36. Sometimes I'm just a guy that wants to make the picks, That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But as far as building out the roster, look, like, should we what do we think we should do? Should we do broad, big picture first? Or just talk about thing by thing?
I think we should do thing by thing, because if we do big picture, my assumption is we're just not going to. I think we should do thing by thing. I think we should start with Horford. I just think it's the biggest thing and it happened first. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So we start with Al Horford. And you know what? In honor of being up after midnight, we'll make the Al Horford talk brought to you by our friends at Kinetic Skateboarding.
You're up after midnight once a year.
Yeah, here it is. I brought my hoodie because I have to turn the heat off to record the podcast. You can see the Spike Eskin Pro Model hoodie. So there it is. They should have put something on sale tonight. KineticSkateboarding.com, promo code Dave Silver for 9.1% off your first order. Okay, so it breaks before the draft that, what was it, around 5:30, 5:45 Eastern time, Daryl Morey's first trade as Sixers president is actually giving up draft picks to get rid of a contract and also trading one of the two remaining hinky draftees. The only two left are Vasilij Micić and Joel Embiid. Of course, they trade Embiid to get rid of Horford. It had to be done. No, they trade Micić to get rid of Horford. They give up a 2025, a lightly protected 2020
1 through 6.
Yeah, and then 1 through 4, I think, for 2 years, and then it becomes a second round pick. That is a courtesy, I want to say, Godner. So a 2025 first round pick, the 34th pick in the draft this year, Micić and Horford, and the Thunder send back Danny Green, who we actually talked about becoming a Sixer. I would like to say that my prediction of the guy gone before opening tip being Horford, I had that one. Danny Green comes, Terrence Ferguson comes. My first question for you is Al Horford appreciator. In terms of our all-time bits, where does that rank? Because it feels near the top for me.
That's a you bet. You gotta place it.
I think I still enjoy it. People were joking about the T-shirt. I think that it makes the T-shirt even better.
It's definitely a better T-shirt now by a lot.
It is amazing that we talked ourselves into this.
Well,
it is amazing.
I mean, we gave Elton the Ricky Grace period for threatening to beat my ass on stage. And it did feel, from a spiteful place, it would have been awesome had we taken Boston's, the bedrock of Boston's defense and just made it work here and made them worse in the process. And that didn't happen. We got punked by the Celtics again. And it sucked. It sucked the whole time. It was good for maybe a half of that first of opening night this year.
We started off 4-0, right? So there was nothing. It was 4-0, right? That I think the Portland game made it 4-0.
7 years ago, couldn't tell you.
But
it was just always. It was never right. It never felt good for any stretch of period. Nobody looked comfortable. There were a couple times over the course of the season where it was like, hey, this defense is tough to score against. But for the most part, they were slow. They weren't that physical at the rim. They obviously had guys that could, make individual plays, but it never felt like a cohesive unit. And that's because of the lack of foot speed on the perimeter, and Brett's inability to, I guess, adjust, whatever it is. Horford was just never right, and he looked pretty slow most of the season. I don't think he's full washed, so I think wherever he goes, if he stays in Oklahoma City, I think he'll be probably fine and probably be able to rehabilitate some of his value and get traded for picks afterwards, because that's what Oklahoma City does right now. But I'm happy he's gone. I feel mostly, when it happened, it was frustrating to think about what could have been, of just this deal that was done such a short amount of time ago on a basketball schedule wise, and to immediately be like, well, thank God that's gone. And it was just a horrible deal. And then the people involved in that decision some of them are gone, some of them are still here, some of them are Scott O'Neal and will never be gone, and they'll live forever. And just
like a real vampire.
Eventually the Sixers will change their name to the Philadelphia Scott O'Neals, and we'll just have to keep rooting for them. But for the first while, I would say until the draft started and we started going my way of guys that I liked, still being available, the Horford stuff that I was thinking was just like, man, this sucks. Like, why did it have to be this? Like, they could have just, they could have got Brogdon. They could have gotten Bojan Bogdanovic. There's a bunch of guys that they could have gotten, and they're just like, let's do this thing instead. And it just was never right. And so it bummed me out that just reliving that for a while of what didn't work. But I'm ultimately happy that it's over, happy that we can move on, happy that Joel will be happy without Horford being there. And Danny Green's a good player. I think he's also like on the verge of being washed, but I think, he's not going to play like 35 minutes a night. I think he's a solid, stable veteran for as a Matisse sort of role model and, teacher and stuff. I think he still has a part to play on a winning team, and he'll hit shots. And
I'd rather have a washed Danny Green than a washed Al Horford.
For sure. I don't think either guy is like fully forever washed. I think they're just like, washed adjacent. And you got to sort of monitor their washedness over the course of a season so that you can maximize how much pop they still have in them. And the Mitchell stuff is a bummer because, it would have been really cool if a Hinkie guy joined the team. But I'm glad he got used as one final sweetener after all these years of being threatened to use that way.
Come on, we know guys like that don't ever come over. The only sort of leeway I will give the Sixers for signing him, and we talk ourselves into almost everything, even deals that I wholeheartedly disagree with. For my own psyche, I talk myself into. You can't. We're going to talk ourselves into almost everything. The only thing that I could give the Sixers a slight benefit of the doubt on is if Ben did come in shooting a little bit, it probably would have made it a little bit better than it was. But what we really ended up with was two power forwards and a center rather than a point guard, a power forward, and a center. Like Embiid and Horford never looked good together when they were on the court, but it always looked worse with the three of them on the court. So my next question for you is, can I unfollow Anna Horford now on Twitter?
You do what you got to do, man.
Okay.
Whatever you need. Don't be mean to Anna Horford. I would do the same thing. If my brother was on the Sixers and he was sucking, I wouldn't say that he sucked. I would say you sucked.
I know.
I would make excuses for him.
I'm not going to be mean to her, but I will say, like, she didn't dive in with both feet here. And she's one of those people like yours truly who will purposely antagonize people and then like shame them for being antagonized.
Sure.
Which is what she does.
Sure.
So I hope she enjoys Oklahoma City. I'm sure it'll be much nicer than Philadelphia is.
Everybody's happy. Let's move on. It was one bad year. Get out of a relationship as quickly as possible. That's not working. And it wasn't working. Everybody's happier. So yeah, I mean, getting out from under this Horford contract with 3 years on it is a really big deal. Danny Green's a $15 million expiring. This gives them a lot of flexibility, both now, because I don't give a shit about this, but like luxury tax stuff and paying more money there. But for like the future couple years where they can let Danny Green expire and, target actually helpful players in free agency and possibly, start to package players together for like another, big three of that piece. If you don't believe in Tobias, whatever, it's huge. It's a really big deal. I'm still bummed about the Horford thing initially, but I am working past that to be excited about Danny Green helping and not having to trade too much to get out from under it and future free agency possibilities. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't. I actually want to add a couple of things to that. So I actually also don't care about what they pay in luxury tax, and I am not a like deep dive cap dork guy. But after the two trades, and we'll get to the Richardson thing, they sent out more money than came in both trades, and they're like $1 million away from the the apron, which, forgetting about what Josh Harris and David Blitzer have to pay, who cares? But it's a very important number in like using the mid-level exception, using trade exceptions, and not getting hard capped. So as a strategy thing, it's good to have somebody like Morey in there who understands, like, just in acquiring players, it gives them more flexibility. The other thing I would say is that it is much easier to trade a $15 million guy and an $8 million guy than it is to trade one $29 million guy. Especially, Danny Green has one more year, right?
Yeah, he's an expiring contract.
Yeah, so like that was one of the problems coming into this, is that the Sixers really had very few tradable contracts, and I don't think they're going to trade. We'll get to Seth Curry. I obviously don't think they'll trade Seth Curry. But that said, $8 million for Seth Curry is super tradable. A $15 million expiring Danny Green is tradable, and was Ferguson makes $6 million or something like that. Like that's also very tradable. So they strategy wise, they did better. When you think of the Horford era, is there one moment that sticks out?
Yeah, I mean, just any, like him spacing out to like 18 feet on the baseline and, front rimming a shot and then doing the clap, and doing that little clap.
It really, when he rang the bell against the Celtics, it really was the high point.
That's it.
We were
the only one.
We had the nerve to troll them about Horford.
Yeah. Should call the season right then. If we could have just sort of bumped up the coronavirus to right then, that would have been, he probably would have been here for 20 more years, just if he never had to play.
So what would you say? So did it surprise you that they basically had to pay a 1 and a 2 to get off of him? And then looking at the price, the Bucks paid for Drew Holiday 3 1s. Portland paid 2 1s for Robert Covington, for Christ's sake. The rest of this offseason, I just think it paints it all. Like Horford was the guy that we thought, we'll be able to find somebody that will just give us somebody back. We won't have to pay that big of a tax, but we ended up paying a 2 draft pick tax. I think this particular offseason is going to be very difficult for Morey to do anything else really big trade-wise. Like Tobias Harris isn't a guy that's going to get traded. Like that seems almost impossible to me, unless you're trading for an equally bad contract. So
yeah, I don't think he is, and I don't want him to. I think that right now the Sixers, and we'll get to it, but right now we can figure out the lineup later. But like Shake, Danny, Tobias, Ben, Embiid is really good, and we're back to the like Ben and Embiid first and second year when it was the two of them and then a bunch of shooting around them. And they just sort of decided that wasn't the right direction. The Jimmy thing was, I think, a worthwhile investment. Mm-hmm. And then that went the other direction, and then the Horford thing. So like really everything could have gone as it has gone, with the exception of the Horford thing. And if they had just signed like Malcolm Brogdon, like it would be so much better, just so much in so many ways. But, Daryl got here, Daryl pivoted. I'm saying the word Daryl so many times.
I can't believe he's the president of basketball operations for the Sixers.
Very odd.
Yeah.
But the Horford thing, very good. Let's move on to should we go to Tyrese or should we go to Josh?
So we'll go in order of the night, I think. Okay. So before we get, because that was the next thing that happened. Before we get to Tyrese, talk about our presenting sponsor, our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. I was actually just looking to see if the Sixers title odds changed tonight with getting Horford off, and they have not. They're still plus 3,000, and to win the conference, they're still plus 1,200. You know what? I'm actually interested with that Bogdanovich thing, if that's changed at all. And it hasn't changed the Bucks odds at all. Okay, DraftKings Sportsbook. That's where you want to bet sports with DraftKings Sportsbook. We're a week away from Thanksgiving, which is not only has 2020 been the longest year ever, it's also been the quickest year ever. Do you feel that a little bit? It's almost over, as horrible as it's been.
I have no sense of time or space. The world doesn't exist outside of my apartment.
DraftKings Sportsbook, we're a week away from Thanksgiving, giving you the opportunity to cash in big on Thanksgiving. Chance to place a free bet when you bet on either Baltimore or Pittsburgh Thanksgiving night. So all you have to do is a $10 bet on the outcome of that game, and it's free. So they're giving you a free bet Thanksgiving night, Baltimore or Pittsburgh. All you have to do is opt into the promotion and place your bet. Super easy. Easy as pie, they say. When you download the app, bottom right-hand corner of the app, if you're looking at YouTube, bottom right-hand corner of the app, there's a button that says promos. Just opt into it. On top of that, all new players get a deposit bonus up to $1,000. Holiday time for family, and while they're not looking, bet on sports, sitting on the couch. DraftKings is the best, not only because the app is great app, easy to use, reliable, secure. You make your deposits, happens right away. You make your withdrawals, happens right away. Love DraftKings, forever DraftKings. That's what I like to say. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code RTRS when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook giving you the chance to place a free bet once you place a qualifying bet on the Baltimore versus Pittsburgh game Thursday evening. All it takes is placing one bet on Thursday's game. That's promo code RTRS when you sign up for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only, in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, so the next thing that happens tonight is pick 21, the Muscala pick, the OKC pick.
We will, when we're allowed to do things again, hang a banner for Mike Muscala. Absolute must. Process Hall of Fame. Immediate inductee, no voting necessary. Get him in there, 100%. God bless him.
Do we bring his dad to the live show? Maybe
no, the dad doesn't get to come. So I'm watching the draft, and it just became so clear that everything was working out, and it's such a surreal feeling watching that happen and being like, we don't need him. That guy, that's fine.
Yeah. There were a lot of guys there at 21. There were a lot of guys.
And it was everybody that we could want at 21, as Boston refuses to take any of the guys that I like, which is great, which was such a treat for me.
Took some fucking white doofus.
Yeah, Peyton Pritchard, who's all right, but they brief momentary swerve to Boston. They draft Carson Edwards, who I love. They draft Tremont Waters, who I love. Carson has a tough rookie season. Tremont has actually had a nice rookie season as a two-way. And then they come back and draft Peyton Pritchard. They're just they just draft guys, which is so foreign because the Sixers don't. Boston kind of just lets them beat each other out and then I guess cuts them if they're not. So it's fine. But they have 3 one-position point guards. Very odd. Very odd choices all around. There are definitely guys that they could have used more of and decided against. Anyway, but so it looks like Maxey's available, Tyrell Terry's available, Desmond Bane is available, RJ Hampton is available, Malachi Flynn is available, and it's like we're just gonna get whoever that they want, and
as long as they don't fuck it up.
It was panicky for me and being like, there were guys I was like, well, I could see them picking this person. I don't want them to take them, so I hope that person goes. And then Sadiq Bey goes. I'm like, great, okay. Because I think Sadiq Bey is basically a kind of Mike Scotty, a little bit better, but fine, fine. And then somebody else goes, and you're like, all right, it's gonna be there. And then everybody's available, and it's weird because we do trust Daryl. We trust him, what he's done in the past, what he values, the idea that he knows how to build a cogent team around these guys. But then the pick comes and it's about to be here, and I'm like, I'm so used to assuming that the Sixers are going to fuck it up, that the Sixers are suddenly going to take Sharon Wright.
Well, and I would also say this: we trust Daryl, and I trusted him with the Horford trade. When I saw what they gave up, I was like, well, that's probably what they had to give up. But him as a drafter, we just don't have as much. He's had some good. Everyone has good drafts and bad drafts, but I didn't have the same sort of faith in that, I guess, than I did in everything else for me. So,
But here it is. He takes Tyrese Maxey. He was number 7 on my board. He's a combo guard from Kentucky, freshman, highly recruited, highly ranked, two-way player, good with the ball in his hands, really physical and gutsy on defense, tries really hard, is a fun kid to root for and just watch play. Great motor. He is not crazy athletic, but fluid and has like sudden change of pace, and he can get to the rim, and he finishes pretty well. And he didn't shoot great at Kentucky. I think he shot like 29% from 3, but he's a willing shooter, and he did shoot 83% from the line on significantly more attempts. So it projects forward as positively. He's got a good body, 6'3", 200. Like he's good. He's really good. He is. I really believe in him a lot. I think he's just an absolute winner and a guy you want on your team. And I don't think he's the benefit of getting him this far down at 21 is that, like, you know, he could have gone 4. Like it's a weird class for sure, right. But like he could have really gone that high. And for at this place, he's on a relatively cheap rookie scale deal, and he gets to just kind of like do what he's best at and slowly improve. And while the prospect part of my head thinks that he should start right away, he probably won't. But there's a lot of good shit to like, and he dropped to us for maybe it'll come out that there's a reason. But as a guy who plays both ways, hustles his ass off, and is a really fun kid to root for, and has an NBA body, like that's great value at 21, especially in this draft class.
So he was one player that was on all when we did the big board pod last time. You had him at 7, I had him at 8, and MOC for his Sixer-centric big board had him at number 1.
As far as like guys that could potentially be
there at 21.
And even he was a stretch to be there. This was a real surprise. I thought we'd had to move up to at least like 15 or 16 to get him.
Yeah, obviously I watched less than you, but one of the things I said is like he's got that 6-man motor, that, get to the rim motor. The one thing I was on with Ryan McDonough on Scallon Pals tonight, and he said, we were talking about his shot, and he said, and I went and I looked at it, and he was right a little bit. His 3-pointer, he's got a little bit of a slingshot sort of thing that he has going there, and he brings it up a little bit from his waist. So I think there is probably some work they need to do on that, but everything else is great. He was wearing, my buddy Svi, who used to work at Slam, sent me a video of him. He was wearing a t-shirt while he was training called like Love to Trust the Process or something, or Love the Process. Wow. He was now another interesting thing that Sixers Adam pointed out. Alex Subers has a bunch of pictures of him because he was working out with LeBron.
Ben and LeBron, yeah. Very interesting. I mean, like he is not like a straight up point guard, right? He's not the kind of guy where you just hand him the keys and run the offense to. But it's kind of nice, and we've been saying this for as long as we've had Ben, is like you kind of don't need that traditional guy. Like as much as Ricky Rubio would be kind of cool here and just have multiple passers and guys who can play like that level of traditional basketball, you can have that with Ben and be able to ease the load of ease the like the creation for others load of the other guy. And so projecting forward, a couple years to when Maxey's at his prime, he can do a little bit of that, but really you just want him getting buckets for himself and coming around screens, running pick and roll. He's has the potential to keep improving from shoot his shot and become like a 3-level scorer. You just want to be able to like having a guy who can dribble and defenses can't just go behind like under on everything is going to be so big. Would love to see what him and Ben in a pick and roll look like. Would love to see what him and Joel in a pick and roll look like. I
think, want to watch him dribble. Honestly.
Any guy that can dribble a little bit, he can get to the rim, finish like craftily, get fouled. There's a lot of upside there, and I just think at minimum he's going to be like a very playable two-way guy, and if his shot never improves, then I think he's still like certainly a rotation player, and at 21 that's great. And I do believe in the shot improving. The foul shooting is a good indicator, and the shot doesn't look terrible to me, and it has improved over years, and he knows that he needs to work on it. Like, he's not a guy that he believes in himself, but it's not like a cockiness, not willing to get better guy. I think he's I said this about Josh, I said this about a lot of guys, but I love a dog, and I think he's a dog, and I think he is like a gym rat and wants to prove it and wants to get better and like wants to soak it up. And man, he's a really good guy to get.
And, you want the shot to improve, but, there are plenty of point guards in the NBA who end up shooting 32 or 33% from three and end up being, Eric Bledsoe never became a particularly good 3-point shooter. Even Drew Holiday is like a 34, 35% 3-point shooter. So if he can get in that neighborhood, if he can get, in that 32 to 35 area, he finds a way to be very playable, through his career. So
very exciting. Okay. So we get Tyrese. I celebrate. Shit gets wild. It's very bizarre. I'm screaming Daryl and out of pleasure and a little bit of sexuality. And then a couple minutes later, when 36 is coming up, because they trade 34 in the Horford pick, 36 comes up, Sixers trade Josh Richardson and 36 to the Dallas Mavericks for Seth Curry.
Yeah. And there was, just trying to take everybody back to the time when Shams tweeted it, there was like a solid 2 minutes where we didn't know what we were getting back from Josh Richardson.
Yeah.
He just tweeted Josh Richardson is going to Dallas.
Yeah.
So,
because there's a lot of me and Sixers Adam have been talking about it for a long time. There's so many guys on Dallas that would just been so nice here. And so starting to dream about like if Horford's gone, is that like a Maxi Kleba situation? Is a way we could get like, could we get Tim Hardaway Jr. or something like that? But like Seth Curry is like a perfect thing. Josh Richardson is an expiring contract because he probably wasn't going to pick up that option on the following year. So would assume he's an expiring contract. And he wasn't a good fit. All offseason I've been saying like, get rid of Josh. Not because I don't like Josh, not because I don't think he's a good player. I actually think he's probably a little bit better of a player than Seth in a vacuum. But as far as expiring Josh contract goes on this team, when Seth has a 3-year deal for $8.5 million a year, which is a really, really fair deal. It's one of the, like, as far as like non-rookie deals, it's one of the best team deals for a player in the league. That's not like a max player, Seth is a really, really good fit here. Really good fit.
Well, the last 4 years of his career, per 36 minutes, has shot 6 threes a game, 6 threes, 6.5, and 7.3, and shot 45%, 42.5, 45, 45. So that's volume and accuracy. He's I haven't watched a ton of him, but he is a smooth player, plays within the offense, can spot up, obviously, can pull up, obviously, is a capable ball handler. He can dribble the ball. He's not he's not just a shooter. He's not, Redick is certainly more prolific and comes harder off screens, and I think is
bigger and more athletic.
Yeah, more aggressive that way. But I do think Curry is smoother and a little bit better with the ball than Redick is. So he'll, you talk about starting. I mean, he's a guy who can certainly start on the Sixers. I don't know if it's going to be Danny Green or Seth Curry, but I don't know. If you start Milton, Curry, Harris, Simmons, and Embiid.
Yeah, it's a little light on guard defenders for me. I would probably start one of Seth or Shake, and maybe you switch. Maybe you do a little bit of a flip flopping of Ben and Shake, so that one of them is on the court at all times, and stagger that so that you have at least some like creator for other people type that can run the offense a little bit, and Shake figures to keep getting better. And so maybe you go Seth, Dan. I think you need Danny out there. I think you need either one of like Danny or like Matisse out there for like regular 25 plus minutes a night defending other guards, because without Josh, that is like, Josh wasn't great with the ball in his hands on offense, but he was like fine enough, and he had that for most of the season. He had that like stability on defense that he'll be able to cover people, he'll be able to make some plays. He's not going to get pushed over. There is a chance of like, because Shake is still filling out his body and because Seth is pretty small, although not total trash on defense, he's like a below average defensive player. That I do think you'll need to like cover them a little bit. But yeah, Seth is a guy that, I think Seth, and there's the benefit of Maxey. I think he can cover like 1, 2, maybe even 3 positions on defense as he gets older, so that he can play with each other and stuff. So yeah, it just becomes like, look, like Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid are big guys who need shooting around them. And I know that we say that a lot, and it's like a bit of a joke because it sounds so easy to do when it hasn't been, but like it is a little when you try to say, hey, we value shooting and a little bit of creation. And what did we get tonight but shooting and a little bit of creation? Like, it feels good. And a little bit like, were we going crazy before that this wasn't the obvious thing to do then?
Well, here's what's crazy, right? They added their 2 best shooters tonight.
Yeah.
Like Danny Green and Seth Curry are their 2 best shooters.
Yeah.
I mean, Tobias Harris is never shooting 7 or 8 threes per 36 like Danny Green is. Like they're probably about the same percentage, but Danny Green is certainly more willing, quicker. These 2 guys, maybe Shake,
right.
But these 2 guys are certainly proven, Seth Curry and Danny Green. So
yeah, for sure. I love Danny. I've always loved Danny. I did watch a lot of Lakers basketball, obviously this year. Lakers fans started to really hate Danny Green, if in a way that like regular Sixers fans hated Covington kind of thing.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
So that there is, he had a bad year shooting the ball, and it got like worse as the year went on, so that it felt every Danny Green miss felt like 6 misses.
Well, by the way, he had a bad year shooting the ball. I think he shot 36% from 3 though.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully that normalizes. He'll certainly get a ton of open looks. He'll be very helpful on both ends. He's like a stabilizing guy that just is generally in the right place at the right time all the time. So I think he's totally fine, and I think Seth is good with the ball in his hands. Not a distributor, not super bouncy, but like the threat of his shot creates so much gravity that it will just naturally create space for a ton of other people. Whether that's him with the ball in his hands and he can get to the rim a little bit, or force another defender to help, or just him being there will allow Ben and Joel and Tobias to operate at their own pace. So just generally helpful. And so I'm sure they'll try to figure out a bunch of different machinations of everything. But like right now you look at the roster, Shake, Danny, Tobias, Ben, Joel, Seth, Korkmaz, Matisse, and you can say like, and probably some backup center, whether that's Norvell or somebody else that they sign on the cheap. Like right there, that's
Nerlens.
A lot of guys. I love Nerlens. Would love it if it's Nerlens. And so, and maybe you give Tyrese some minutes. So like that you start to get. It is a bunch of playable, fill a role type of guys that have a diversity of skills around your 2 anchors, and 3 if you want to count Tobias. But I think generally the team just makes so much more sense now, and as much as Josh was helpful, and I do like Josh, and he's my kind of player, and I play a lot like him, so I have a kinship with that. Seth is you just need it. You can't fuck around with not needing shooting in today's NBA when you have 2 predominantly non-shooting big men that they need space to operate for. And they fucked around with it for 2 years. And so no more of that. Thank you very much, Daryl. Time to put shooting and some creation in there.
So I think it's perfect as we say goodbye to Josh Richardson. And then we'll get to the other draft picks, and I have a controversial, you saw the tweet. It was first a text from AU, and I'm making him write an article. But it seems apt that as we say goodbye to Josh, we do a Big Barker ad, because Josh is a a dog.
Replaced with the new dog.
Yeah, replaced with a new dog, right? So we got to get Maxey a big barker. Right now, it is 1:07 Eastern time, which means Rebel is fast asleep on his big barker next to my bed, with my wife asleep in our bed. Truthfully, we've got a nice bed. I think he's got a nicer one. Big Barker is truly the top of the line in dog beds. Now, you think top of the line. A lot of times you're getting ripped off, right? You're paying for a brand name, or you're paying for a logo or something like that. That's not what you're doing with Big Barker. You're actually paying for quality. Regular dog beds are not beds. Big Barker dog beds are beds, engineered by experts to support your dog's joints. My dog's important. Your dog's important. You need a Big Barker. Go to bigbarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky. You go there, you get the Big Barker, but if you go to bigbarker.com/Ricky, you will also get 2 of these, the Process Pup patch right here. Very easy to iron on. I never knew how to iron anything on until this. It's actually really easy. It only takes like 2 minutes. You just put an iron on it. That's what an iron on is. But anyway, you get the Big Barker, which comes with a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten, or they replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. They'll give you your money back. They'll even pay for shipping. And you're getting a bed that is a real bed. Send us a picture of your dog. We'll put them in the Process Pup gallery, and you'll notice that your dog is sitting on this bed and is several inches above the ground. Unlike the bed you have them sleeping in now, as soon as your dog lays in it, it goes right to the ground. Studied by the University of Penn School of Vet Medicine, proved all of these things: reduction in pain, reduction in joint stress, improvement in quality of life, all of these things. Big Barker is the way to go, I promise you. Again, bigbarker.com/Ricky. bigbarker.com/Ricky. Made in the USA, Big Barker dog beds. So here's the text I get from AU. Now, most of the disagreements I have with AU are AU turns in an article, and I'm like, are you serious with this? Like, I once again believe in the Sixers, or, Ben Simmons is ready to do it this time, or every one of AU's articles is like pie in the sky stuff. So I get this text from AU. Do me a favor and register my cold water take on the pod that this dealing is all well and good, but the 2 players we traded are better than the 2 players we got, and we gave up picks to do it. And everyone needs to calm down with speaking in tongues about it. Your comment.
Look, I actually don't disagree. I think Danny Green and Al Horford are pretty comparable at this point in their careers. Danny Green plays a better position of need for the team. I think that, as I said, I think Josh and Seth are about the same level. I think Josh was making like $2 million more a year than Seth is. So like they're clearly in the same ballpark. But Seth is significantly more in a position of need. And we should talk about Seth Curry now playing for his father-in-law in Doc Rivers, which is odd.
We got to get Austin Rivers, too, so we can get 2 sons.
There's enough drama. I don't need, like, having to worry about, like, did Doc love his kids enough? Like, I just don't need it. I don't need it. We got enough. It's fine. I think that's interesting. I really don't disagree that with at least like thinking about it. But and I've said this a billion times, but the benefit of having Joel and Ben Simmons is that all you have to do is just make their lives easy. Make shit easy for them so that they can be 2 of the top for Joel, I don't know, 15, 20 players in the league. Hopefully he can be better. And for Ben, like 20, 25, again, hopefully he can be better. And once you make shit easy for them, then like it's easy for everybody. Everybody's having a good time. The floor is spaced. We're hitting shots. It's not clunky every time. We're playing some defense with like people on the perimeter that should be on the perimeter. We're switching sometimes. All of it. And too often that they just didn't make it easy. And now we had to do trades to set us up for, I think this is the kind of trade, especially the Horford trade, that sets us up for the future, obviously, because it opens up cap space for free agency. but it also, while not, my concern with Horford, with some Horford trades and currently Tobias trades, is that it doesn't make them better now. It just gives them some more freedom down the road. And this Horford trade does make us better now and also gives us freedom down the road. Now, it came at the cost of a couple things that I find pretty valuable, but ultimately worthwhile just to make Embiid happy and to have a chance at, making some noise this season and actually contending, because I think that they are close and capable of potentially doing that.
Before we get to the final two picks, and by the way, a quote from Daryl Morey, this is per Kyle Newbeck. I think the theme tonight was Seth Curry, and I can't really talk about the other player because remember, Danny Green first has to get traded to OKC,
right,
and then OKC can get traded to us.
Right.
And as, by the way, as the Bucks are finding out with the Bogdanovich thing, all of this is, I would say,
theoretical.
Yes, because another trade has to happen before this one happens. So this, because the Bucks aren't getting Bogdanovich now. But anyway, the quote from Morey: I think the theme tonight was Seth Curry, and I can't really talk about the other player, was to improve the fit. Having a truly gravity elite shooter changes things for Joel and Ben.
Exactly.
So before we get to the final two picks, the big talk over the last couple of days has been Harden, of course. Harden, who, one report says it's the Nets and Sixers. It definitely seems like it's the Nets that he actually wants to go to. And then the report from somebody else, I forget even who it was, that, the Sixers are unwilling to give up Simmons in a Harden trade. Morey's working on something big without Joel or Ben. Just as everyone started asking me about Brad Beal, and they're not getting Brad Beal without trading Ben or Joel.
No, they're not. I mean, Washington has been very, very adamant that they're not trading Brad Beal. And
if they trade him, they're going to trade him for a massive haul, not, everybody does we'll give him Shake and Matisse and the Harris contract. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it would be if anything, it'd be for the number one pick next year, which you can't know yet because next year's draft class.
Oh, yeah, right. So I guess my question to you is, do you think the Harden for Simmons thing is impossible, or do you think it still exists out there in the ether?
I think it's possible. I think I really do think that there is bitterness from Houston's end of dealing with Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
I think they feel maybe a little bit conned, a little bit like Daryl pulled one over on them and stuff. And Tillman Fertitta seems like a pretty prideful guy.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Brooklyn is what's going to happen, although I really don't think that their package is good enough. Maybe I have to look at it, but if they've added enough in this current draft to bolster that, who knows?
Well, unless you do the 3 ones and 3 swaps or something like that. So
yeah,
you're adding
for sure. But I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if does Houston really want to rebuild, or are they going to try to do another let's bide our time with picks and try to make a trade? But there's already teams that are ahead of them with that, as far as New Orleans and Oklahoma City.
But remember, this year they don't even have to worry about attendance. Attendance isn't something that so they can suck this year. They can be terrible.
I guess that's right. I guess if you're figuring if there's ever a year to suck, the pandemic year is a solid one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I would love it. I wouldn't, because I wanted to see Brooklyn kind of fall apart. I would love it just spitefully if Brooklyn's all right, Kyrie and a bunch of picks for James Harden, and then Kyrie has to go to Houston. That'd be pretty solid. But yeah, it seems like indications generally, and we can let other people talk about if player empowerment is good or not, whatever. But it seems like generally when a player wants to go to a place of that caliber, they get to go there. And so we'll see if it happens this offseason or down the road or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I now that things have shaken out a little bit, and you trade Horford and Tobias, and you start to see this expand, and you see the possibilities with this team. And I do think now that they have or will have a decent amount of money to sign another real solid contributor. Could be Aaron Baines, by the way. I don't know if he would sign for I think it'd be the tax mid level. Would be funny to have Aaron Baines in the Sixers. He would probably suck, honestly, now that I'm saying it, because a former Celtic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to see this. I want to see this play out. I want to see what it looks like with Doc. I never wanted to trade Ben. I wanted to work, and I know that makes me sentimental. And if you're asking me like on a basketball level, trading Ben and stuff for Harden, yeah, you do it. But like looking at the team, I wanted to work around our guys, and I've said that before. But like now that they have some room to breathe, isn't it worth trying another one full year with a new coach and real spacing and gravity around these guys, see how it works, see how they improve, see how they work together before you can be like, all right, we'll trade Ben next year, you know?
Yeah. I'm sort of like, I agree with you. If James Harden's available and you can get him, I think you have to get him. That's my opinion. I think the problem still becomes you still have to figure out who the guy on the team is who is that guy. And the thing with Embiid is you don't have a super long time to figure that out, I don't think, you know? So if they pass on Harden, let's say that's what happens. They pass on Harden. And then they realize that, you know what, Ben's a really good player, but he's never going to be that kind of guy. And then you have to wait around to find that kind of guy again. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's so much movement all the time that like whisper down the lane stuff through agencies and whatever. And if Bradley Beal or like Jamal Murray or like something like that would be starting to be up in, maybe not a guy as good as Harden, but like in that echelon gets there. And even, by the way, Harden in like 2 years, if he expires and you're like, actually, it's not working for him there, whatever it is. Then you can start to whisper and say, hey, like you tell your agent that you want to get out and come to Philly so that we can make this thing happen. Like there's always these like illicit dealings. So I don't think that there's a non-zero chance of like, it's either this or nothing ever again. I just think that if you go all in for Harden and it goes to shit, like it kind of has the last few times for James Harden, not like him in the playoffs or anything, but like him with teammates, him with in multiple situations. It just seems like it would not go smoothly. And maybe, you know, we talked about with LeBron, maybe you just like go for it and do it, and you're willing to like, you know, sacrifice comfort for that. But it seems like that really constricts you a lot. And I like having some more flexibility while these guys are still pretty young and improving and hopefully have ability to unlock new levels of the game. I'd still like to give it a real shot with better pieces around them.
All right. So we have two more picks to discuss. I would like to propose that we nickname Isaiah Joe the Promise. I think it's a good nickname. It is funny. If they did promise and waited until pick 49, boy, they're really risking it. So they take Arkansas's Isaiah Joe at 49.
Yeah. By the way, this is the guy, I mentioned it many months ago, but I said I heard the Sixers promise someone. This was over the
this
summer.
Was the guy.
It was Isaiah Joe, yeah. And so everybody, that's been like an open secret among like draft people for a while. And so when they traded 34, it was like, okay, so we're probably getting Isaiah Joe with 36. And then when they traded 36, it was like, all right, well.
No, they picked it. Oh, yeah, they did trade 36.
36
right,
in the Josh trade,
yeah.
And so then he was sticking around. There were still plenty of guys that I liked available. Plenty of guys end up becoming undrafted and are already getting scooped up as undrafted guys, which is a little bit of a bummer for me. I really wanted Grant Riller. It would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Although him and Tyrese are not similar, but like play a similar type of role as like on-ball slashers kind of thing. And Isaiah Joe was still available. And then they just took their guy. And it was nice. I mean, like he's at 21. If Isaiah Joe Promise was at 21, I would have been like very bummed out. If Isaiah Joe Promise was at 34, I would have been like, fine. It's whatever. Second round, okay. But Isaiah Joe at 49, he is a guy who shoots like a nuclear shooter. Like
Yeah,
he
shoots a lot.
He shoots so often. He is. It is hard to shoot like that many threes per game. Like it is not an easy thing to do to just chuck that much. Like to get open, to rise up, to feel like you have that space. As a freshman, he took 8 threes per game, shot 41.4% from three. As a sophomore, he shot 10.6 threes per game, shot 34% from three, 34.2. 76% from the line as a freshman, 89% from the line as a sophomore on more attempts. He's good. He's a really good shooter off the dribble. He's a good shooter off movement. He's a good shooter pulling up. He is interesting. He's not unathletic. He's pretty athletic. Honestly, the Sixers, the promise with the Sixers was, hey, please don't work with other teams so that they can see how athletic you also are. He's 6'5", so he's not small.
Skinny.
Yeah, but that's the concern. So if there's two concerns with Isaiah Joe of keeping him from being like a legitimate role player, because I believe in the shot, I believe in the like him being good enough on defense and be able to like fight through screens and like play hard defensively, and he had pretty good defensive numbers, steal numbers. If there's concern with Isaiah Joe, it's the frame. He's incredibly skinny. He has skinny legs. He gets bumped off his spot all the time. Just very, 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 very thin. And there's rumors, and I think Sam Vecini alluded to this, of like there being some knee issues of injuries. But like that's a risky take at 49. Like that's fine. So if he has to miss some or a lot of this season, then like okay, that's totally fine. Because he's going to shoot. He's going to create gravity. He doesn't even have to like make many shots. Just being out there and forcing teams to cover him, and whether it's in screens, like think about him in the JJ role of like dribble handoffs with Embiid. All of a sudden, like if there's a good screen from Embiid or Simmons or whoever it is, all of a sudden their man has to come up and help Embiid or Simmons or whoever is rolling. That's a pass right there, and he's a pretty decent passer and capable of making that play. And so I think there's just a guy like that. There's not many nuclear type shooters in the league, and I would love to see him keep improving because he is athletic. He is a really good shooter, and I think he's a pretty smart player. And so just put on as much weight as possible. He's kind of like a slightly bigger Landry Shamet. I think he's a little bit worse off the dribble, like getting his own stuff, but fast, can move, good relocator, that kind of thing.
Well, and you talk about, if he shoots 34, 35%, but he's shooting 10 threes per 36, Amos made the Covington comparison tonight. Is like, Covington did not always shoot, 38%. A lot of the times it was 35%, 36%. But if they know you're capable and you're going to shoot that many times, then they have to guard you. So we get to 58, and
surprised you're still awake. No nap?
No
nap.
Well, yeah, and I didn't even sleep late this morning. I barely slept this morning, actually. My fucking dog woke up at 2 a.m. I didn't fall asleep until 3:30 again. I see the name Paul Reed. I don't even think we fucking talked about Paul Reed.
We didn't.
Who is he?
Paul Reed is a junior out of DePaul. Very few NBA players coming out of DePaul lately, so that's always exciting. They were actually pretty good over the course of the season, and then like fell off a cliff once the Big East schedule kicked in. I was hoping that they would get to the tournament. Paul Reed is a really, really interesting player, and especially analytically, which is obviously part of why Daryl was interested in him. He is big. He is 6'9", 6'10", with like a 7'2" wingspan. He played 3 years at DePaul. He's 21, so he's not crazy old or anything. He's pretty thin. He's 220, but he's physical for his size. In my mind, he's the biggest thing to know about Paul Reed is that he's so odd. You'll watch him play, and then there's just like a weird kind of like off-kilterness to him, but then he'll stabilize and throw down some like pretty big dunks. He's somewhere to me in between like Rashawn and like Thad, like a little bit, in that he's powerful and can get to his spots and can make some things happen, but he's also like always a little bit on the verge of falling over. I think he's a perfect candidate for a two-way. The interesting thing is that like he is not a usually think of that guy and it's like that probably is like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist with a shot, but he's not. He shot 77% from the line as a sophomore and 74% from the line as a junior. He shot on not that many attempts. He shot 41% from three as a sophomore and 31% from three as a junior. Not going to say it's whatever, but like there's room for optimism with the shot. It doesn't seem like it is a hopeless situation, but that's what you get at 50, 59. Kevin O'Connor has him as shades of Paul Millsap, which I don't really agree with, but Taj Gibson, which I kind of do. Taj obviously had that like good mid-range thing. I think of him more as I think of Paul Reed as more of a center. His shot blocking rates are incredibly high. He had a shot blocking rate of 9.7 his junior year at DePaul and a steal rate of 3.3, which is both very high, like closing on Matisse levels of high. He's just really good and gets a lot of rebounds and passes the ball a little bit, and he just does it in not like an aesthetically pleasing way. So it's odd, but he's a finisher. He is a hard motor. Like the thing that when we look at, and I obviously wanted Xavier Tillman, once we traded Al Horford, I really wanted Xavier Tillman to be Embiid's backup forever. Didn't happen. But when you think about Embiid's backup and who projects forward to be that, and they'll probably end up just signing a guy to like a year or two to be there. But as far as a long-term type solution, I want a guy that just got a crazy motor, can defend the perimeter a little bit more than Joel can, and is just willing to like dunk all the time. And so Paul Reed is that for me. So I feel good about it. I feel great about it at 59. There are other guys that I had a little bit higher, but I think he's certainly very interesting as far as a two-way goes. And yeah, I mean, it's a ride. He's going to be fun in Delaware because there's an erratic nature to his game that is, I think, a little frustrating, but also highly entertaining.
Well, and you know what? It seems like Morey does like those, going back to Maxey, the tough, strong guards, you know, like he was a Kyle Lowry guy. He was an Aaron Brooks guy.
Eric Gordon is a very stocky, sturdy type man.
Another guy you're going to fucking laugh at, but Isaiah Cannon was a Rocket as well. So I would say all in all, a successful day, and the best part is that we are interesting again, doing shit again. And it was nice to have some confidence in the guy running the show.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to make note of the fact that Zaire congratulated Isaiah Joe because they both come from, Maxey.
So did LeBron.
Yes, LeBron and Zaire, two P's. I'm glad that there's a lot to think about, and I don't think that Daryl's done by any means, and so I'm hesitant to start to let the roster solidify and envision or whatever. But they definitely need like a backup big man now that Embiid's gone, and that's obviously a concern of mine.
Horford's gone.
Sorry, Horford's gone. Because obviously we've lived with the Greg Monroe and Boban experiment. But there's still room to go. I wouldn't mind an undrafted free agent point guard that's like an actual point guard that I can start to get behind. Sadly, Devon Dotson's already gone. Grant Riller's already gone. Anybody else? Marcus Howard's gone.
Wait, did somebody pick Grant Riller?
No. I think Charlotte got him on a two-way.
They don't need him.
Yeah, we need him. I didn't see Tyshawn Alexander. I would love to see if Tyshawn is available. But there's interesting guys I would love to see, and maybe it's just fine. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I would love one like. I wish we gotten Cassius Winston or something, like just like a point guard with like legitimate passing vision. That's not, because right now, not that we need to do this, but like Ben Simmons is the only guy on the team that I would say is like a very plus passer. And I would like a little bit more of that. And so maybe that's a free agent signing, whatever. But that's something I'm looking at. It's an exciting roster. It's an exciting roster to see like less clunkiness right at the top to bottom. No more weird, sort of just flubing around in there, bumping into each other.
My last thing, and it is un-Sixers related, and only in that I wish we got him. I'm just fucking sure Tyrell Terry's awesome.
Yeah, he's cool.
I'm sure of it. I'm just sure.
He's very cool.
Yeah.
Surprised that he fell. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
well, we can talk about it. There's a lot of surprise that he fell. But they basically, Dallas traded Seth Curry to then have Tyrell Terry basically do what Seth Curry did with a little bit more ball handling and passing and creating and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations. If you're listening, we made it through. Here we are. Horford thing's over. Daryl Morey's here. Seth Curry's on the team.
Mitch is just gone.
We've been talking about Seth Curry being on the Sixers for like 5 years.
I know. Seth Curry and Danny Green have always been sort of circling the situation.
Yeah. So we will talk to you this weekend. Free agency starts Friday, like almost immediately.
That Bogdanovich thing with the Kings and Bucks is so fucking weird.
Yeah, it is.
Very Bielitsa-ish. It's always the Kings, man.
By the way, Bielitsa, same agent.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. We will talk to you once free agency begins Saturday morning. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you. If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Time for plan B.